funky punks from Hollywood with a sound of their own.
Kind of meant the world to us, and there was an extremely intense sense of vitality in what we did.
If you look back on it at that time, it was so out of context of what was going on, and it was so fresh and original.
It literally came out of nowhere.
From the start, the Chili Peppers came out swinging.
It felt great to be on stage naked, you know, with this sort of exaggerated phallus, you know, dangling between our legs.
But beneath the Chili Peppers' flamboyant front lies a solid friendship.
Those guys are my real brothers, you know? Those are the ones who I spilled my guts out to. Those are the ones I cried to. Those are the ones I poured my heart out to.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner.
Their character was put to the test when they lost one of their members.
He just made a mistake, took the wrong drugs, the wrong time, and he didn't make it, you know? And it's just really
The Chili Peppers survived one tragic death, only to witness the near fall of another.
I just thought he was gonna die. I mean, I was sure that John was gonna die.
But after regrouping, the rejuvenated Chili Peppers broke new ground and went on to achieve their greatest success.
It was like, you know, having someone die in your family and then come back to life.
Now the naked truth of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the story behind the music.
Come on, buddy. Step on back.
After more than 2 decades, the Chili Peppers are as hot as ever. Musical mavericks who've managed to outshine and outsell most of their peers.
They like us. People still want to come and see us. It's awesome.
I have a funny feeling that we're just getting started, which is pretty bizarre because, you know, we've been together forever.
They're a global sensation, but when the world was getting its first taste of the Red Hots, many thought the Chili Peppers were anything but cool.
We would like to dedicate this set to Sinead O'Connor's With
From the start, critics dismissed them as shallow, sex-crazed Californians, skateboarders looking for a different kick.
They were seen as a joke band or a party band or pretty much just like a goof act that probably wouldn't go anywhere other than break up in a couple years, maybe.
Whilst dismissed by some, they were held up as heroes by others in search of something fresh.
There was nothing like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were fresh, they had a total sense of humor about them, but they were really cool, and they had this energy.
They came on the scene and just blew the doors off of traditional music as people knew it at the time, period.
The Chili's say their unique sound and strength comes from a special bond, a link that was formed in their teens and which continues to grow.
You know, we loved each other, and we were family, and because of that, you know, we were able to create this band.
Michael Flea Balzery, Anthony Kiedis, and Hillel Slovak began their quest back in Hollywood in 1978. Anthony and Flea were 15 when their worlds first collided on the school grounds.
I first met him, I had a kid in a headlock, and I was like, you I'm gonna kill you.
And I went up to Flea and I said, you know, if you lay another hand on him, I'm gonna have to rough you up.
And he looked so mean, I laid off him right away. And anyway, and we ended up sitting next to each other in driver's ed class in high school.
They became very close. I remember Michael coming home and saying, I met someone I can really talk to. And they were pretty close. Well, I guess they've remained it all these many years later.
When Anthony met Flea, he was already a star of sorts. Flea's teachers believed he was the most talented trumpet player they'd heard since the legendary Herb Alpert, who'd attended the same school. It was Flea's stepfather who fed the young boy's appetite for jazz. He was a musician who frequently held jam sessions in their home.
I mean, just seeing all those guys together in a room sucking and blowing and hitting and playing his instruments, I would roll on the floor in hysterical laughter, just, and it was the first time I really felt the intangible, magical effects of music.
When they'd have sessions at the house, they'd let him sit in a little bit. And I knew he was kind of special because one of these jazz clinicians stared at him and said, "Where the f*** that kid get that sound?"
While Flea was belting out jazz numbers, his friend Anthony Kiedis was going from audition to audition in the hope of becoming an actor. At 11, Anthony moved from his mother's home in Michigan to live with his father in Los Angeles. His dad was an aspiring actor struggling to make his name.
And I knew that Hollywood had something in the air that Michigan did not, because I had been out here visiting my dad on summer vacations, and I mean, you could just taste it. There was psychotic beauty in the air, and I wanted to live in that air.
I was going to go to Hollywood and live with my dad and be a movie star.
Anthony didn't become a star of the big screen, but he did appear in a handful of films and television shows.
I thought maybe you could help me with my homework.
Yeah, like you did with Frankie.
Come on, it's Oliver's school. You have been voted the girl most wanted to do homework with.
He was often cast as a streetwise kid, a role that, thanks to his dad, he was well suited to play.
When I came out to California, my dad was very involved in chasing girls and having different girlfriends, and very open about his sexual existence.
Anthony says his dad was a flamboyant playboy who introduced him to sex and drugs at a tender age.
I started dabbling with heroin when I was 14. That's the first time I tried it. And it was kind of by accident, actually. I thought it was cocaine. And it was white, and it was sitting on a table, so I went and did it, and I got high, and I liked it very much. I thought it was a beautiful feeling.
Anthony was far more wise in the ways of the world than most of his friends at school, but most of the time he was still a typical teenager who liked hanging out with Flea and their mutual friend Hillel Slovak.
Hillel and I and Flea, we were actually really a trio, and we just spent a lot of time listening to music together, getting high, talking about life, going to the mountains, going to Yosemite, going on these backpacking trips, just really becoming, lifelong friends.
From the start, James Slovak says his older brother Hillel shared a special chemistry with Flea and Anthony.
All the people that I've seen, nobody is like those three, and they just found each other, and maybe it was fate.
Growing up, Hillel and James shared a bedroom. Things were tight at the Slovak home, but when Hillel was 13, he was given a guitar.
He would play all day long, listen to Jimi Hendrix and Kiss. Those were his two biggest bands. And I would go to sleep around 10 or 10:30, and he would still be playing guitar in the room. And I'd beg him to stop because I need to go to sleep, and he'd play for another 2 hours.
Hillel's guitar playing made a huge impression on Flea.
At the time, I didn't like rock music at all. When I was a kid, I just thought rock music was for idiots. I liked Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie. I wanted to be a jazz trumpet player. He's the first person who got me to listen to rock music. He says, this is Jimi Hendrix, listen to this, and Zeppelin, and, I was like, wow.
When they were 16, Hillel taught Flea to play bass, and soon they started a band.
Flea loved playing with Hillel a lot, and they had a supremely magical musical connection that doesn't really happen that often.
Anthony, Flea and Hillel finished school in 1980, but the friends remained inseparable. The trio hung around for a few more years. Anthony did a short spell at university, while Flea and Hillel continued to pursue their music. Then, one night in the summer of 1983, on impulse, Anthony joined his friends on stage. The band improvised while Anthony rapped a poem he'd written called Out in LA.
Something very volcanic occurred when we all went up there, and we had no idea what to expect. It was just for the hell of it, and it was so much fun. Something really special happened that night.
We had one song that played for 3 minutes, The club owner said, I want you guys to come back, and we came back and played, and we had 3 songs this next time. And literally it was like lines around the block right away.
Out of that impromptu performance, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were rather unexpectedly born. Accident or no accident, they'd arrived, and with their charged-up, potent mix of rap, funk, and rock, a revolution was born. From that one crazy night at that small bar on Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, one of America's most innovative and exciting bands emerged.
It was just wild. We were out of control. We were wild. The band was out of control. Everything we did was over the top, and that music was a part of it.
Overnight, the newly formed Red Hot Chili Peppers became the darlings of Hollywood's underground club scene. Then, in the autumn of 1983, they pulled a stunt that shot them into the limelight.
We were playing a place called the Kit Kat Club, which was a strip bar. And I think by this time, maybe we had 4 or 5 songs.
They may have been short on songs, but the boys rose to the occasion when the crowd begged for more. For their encore, Anthony, Flea, Hillel, and drummer Jack Irons returned to the stage, wearing nothing but their socks.
And so we were backstage, and we were all nervous and excited, and should we do this? Should we do this? Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it.
I saw the first sock deal, the very first one, and it's one of the most amusing things I ever did see in my life.
It felt great to be on stage naked, you know, with this sort of exaggerated phallus, you know, dangling between our legs. And there's always the element of danger because, you know, someone could reach up and grab the sock off her. It was a gas.
Word quickly spread of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' outrageous antics. Within weeks, they were performing to sold-out crowds at LA's hippest clubs.
When I first saw them play, I'd never seen such freedom on stage. Flea was playing so aggressively that he'd worn a hole in his thumb. And he was literally screaming in pain between each song because it hurt so bad. And someone kept coming out and pouring crazy glue into the hole.
Flea's unique style of slap bass fused with Hillel's improvised guitar work gave the band a distinctive sound.
Hillel was very magical. He was an amazing musician. Hillel. He had this style that was very his own, very unique. I loved Hillel. We all did.
He always wanted to create new music. It was all about creating a whole new sound. He didn't want to be like everybody else.
By the end of 1983, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were the most talked about band in California. And to the surprise of some, they landed a record deal just 6 months after they first rocked in their socks.
Red Hot Chili Peppers landed a deal with an EMI subsidiary, and it was like, what? How did that happen? I don't get it.
Over the next couple of years, the Chili Peppers released 2 albums. The first failed to capture the essence of their sound. So for their second album, Freaky Styley, they recruited legendary producer and funk master George Clinton.
I wanted to be on the scene with whoever was going to be doing the funk when he came back and be not old school, but part of what was happening then. And the Chili Peppers was that raw, straight out, free your mind, your ass will follow. You rock out with your out, you know what I'm saying?
Under George Clinton's guidance, the Chili Peppers refined their blend of funk, punk, and rock.
It was the best thing ever, being embraced by George Clinton, such a prolific force in the history of music. You know, in this century, one of the greatest, liked us.
After the release of Freaky Styley, the band toured continuously. Mainstream stations were still ignoring them, but college radio was getting hot for the Chili's.
The Chili Peppers' strength was that anybody who came to the show just went bonkers. I mean, they were awesome live.
After forming in 1983, the Red Hot Chili Peppers acquired a reputation for playing hard and partying harder. Drugs had always been around, but in 1985 it was starting to drive the band apart. Anthony was now hooked on heroin.
It really kind of ended up sinking its teeth into me, over the course of a couple of years maybe, where I would do it one weekend and then, go to band practice every day. And I'd say, I won't do that for a couple of weeks. And then it would be, I won't do that for a week. And then, I won't do that for a few days. Well, I did just do it yesterday, but this will be the only time I do it 2 days in a row. And then, I just started buying the lie.
Anthony wasn't the only one buying the lie. During the recording sessions for Freaky Styley, he discovered that Hillel was also addicted to heroin.
Hillel started a little bit later than I did and was equally as naive when our life was getting sucked away. We were just too swallowed up to be cognizant of it and so, whoa, we gotta stop this, we gotta stop this. I mean, at that point, you're gone.
Flea admits he did his share of drugs, but heroin, he says, was just too hard to handle. Instead, he tried his best to be supportive for his two closest and addicted friends.
Like I said about Hillel, I wish I could have been there for him more. And with Anthony, when I see him go through his troubles, I love him. I love Anthony. I want to be there for him.
In January 1988, the Chili Peppers headed to Europe to tour. But shortly after arriving in the UK, Hillel became ill and started to suffer heroin withdrawal.
He was in terrible pain, and I think that was the first time he realized that he was in trouble with this thing and that it wasn't just a casual affair and it wasn't just for fun and it wasn't just a mind-expanding trip, that it had its meat hooks in his heart and wasn't letting go so easily.
Hillel's health was in decline and it was getting harder to conceal his addiction. A roadie concerned for his well-being approached Hillel's brother.
He said, your brother's doing heroin. I didn't believe it at first, but he said, you need to know it's getting out of hand. No one wants to tell you. So I confronted my brother about it. He begged me not to tell my mom, so I didn't. I would have told my mom if I had a second chance.
At the beginning of 1988, it looked as if it was going to be a breakthrough year for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Their new album, Uplift Mofo Party Plan, was outselling their previous two records, and their shows were drawing impressive crowds. On the road, it seemed Anthony and Hillel were taking steps to turn their lives around. They agreed to help each other steer clear of heroin.
I had mentioned it to Hillel. I was like, Hillel, I think we should both seriously look at being clean. And we talked about it and we thought we're both going to perish. We're going to lose the band. And we thought, yeah, we really should because we'll have a lot more fun and we can make a lot more music and life will be better without it.
Notebook entries reveal Hillel Slovak's desire to stay clean. His diary shows his devotion and love for music and his struggle to kick drugs.
How I know my brother was hurting to get off of drugs is he writes stuff like this. He says, F drugs. Music is my destiny. Even though I don't necessarily feel it now, I know soon I will feel that this experience will make me stronger.
We were touring in Europe, and both Hillel and Anthony were having problems at the time, but they were, as a team, united to clean up. And they did. They were doing great. We've been working really hard for a long, long time, and they were kind of fried. We came back, and I think pretty much everybody said, hey, I'm going to go my way, you go your way, and I'll speak to you in like 3 weeks.
But without the mutual support between Hillel and Anthony, the time apart proved to be ill-fated.
When we got back from playing, we were pretty much just on a clean-headed level. And we both disappeared into our own worlds of getting high again.
Several days later, on Friday the 24th of June, James received a call from Hillel.
He told me that he was thinking about the heroin again, and I begged him not to do it. And told him it was like Russian roulette, that, spinning the barrel, you can die at any time. And there was a big pause, and he said I was right. And that was like actually the first time he said, I love you. I said to him, I said, let's start hanging out more often. Let's start doing things together. And he said, definitely, definitely. And I didn't have that chance because after that,
That would be the last conversation James would ever have with his brother. Hillel put down the phone and shut himself off from the world.
We couldn't find Hillel, you know. I'm their manager. My job is basically to be a pain in the ass and call everybody every day. Hey, what are you doing? How are you? What's going on? And I couldn't get an answer on Hillel. We called, you know, anybody, you guys hear from Hillel? You hear from Hillel? Nobody heard.
The weekend passed and still no one was able to reach Hillel. Then on Monday, June the 27th, the horrible truth was discovered. Police entered Hillel's flat and found his body. Authorities believe a few days prior, on June the 25th, 1988, 26-year-old Hillel Slovak had overdosed on heroin.
the night he called me and said, I love you, he knew he was going to do heroin that night. He was ashamed of it, I'm pretty sure. He was like, how did I get wrapped up in this drug?
I was going through a hard time, and, he just made a mistake, took the wrong drugs, the wrong time, and he didn't make it,
I did not accept the news. I was, very much under the influence when I got it. I came back after being gone for a few days from my house, and my girlfriend told me, and I just refused to accept it.
Anthony Kiedis retreated to a small fishing village in Mexico, where he tried in vain to kick heroin.
I didn't actually stop using at that point. For whatever reason, you would think your best friend dies, okay, I've had enough. But it doesn't work like that, at least with my experience.
10 days later, Anthony returned to Los Angeles and checked himself into rehab. Though it would be a lifelong battle that he wouldn't always win, he was determined to stay clean.
I got back from Mexico and got out of the hospital and, one more time said, okay, I'm gonna be cool now. And then it was Flea and Jack and myself and our manager, Lindy, sitting on a sailboat in the Pacific Ocean. And we decided to talk about what we were gonna do.
Saddened by his friend's death, Jack Irons announced that he was leaving the band.
And he left, and sort of Flea and I looked at each other and we said, what do we do?
When it began, 1988 promised so much. But before the year's end, the Chili Peppers were reeling.
My friends are so depressed.
After losing their guitarist and drummer, only 2 of the Chili Peppers' founding members remained. But Anthony and Flea decided to carry on.
We knew that we weren't done yet. We knew that the life of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, still had untapped creative energy, that we didn't want to go to waste. And he and I were still best friends.
For a new guitarist, they didn't have to look any further than one of their biggest fans, 18-year-old guitar prodigy John Frusciante.
He's definitely a genius. He's got that mad scientist, guitar, art, love, spirit, genius in him, but he doesn't know how to drive a car. He doesn't have a credit card. He doesn't function in the same road with the rest of the world, which is what makes him great.
When I first joined the band when I was 18, Flea and Anthony called me up. I kept real cool when I was on the phone with them, and then I hung up the phone and I screamed, "I'm the Red Hot Chili Peppers!" And I ran across the house and I jumped up on a wall, and there was like these footmarks on the wall of that apartment.
With John Frusciante on board, it was time to find a new drummer. The hard-hitting Chad Smith was the last of more than 30 to audition.
We just started playing, and we had this connection, right off the bat, a musical, explosion that happened. I'm yelling, I'm playing, come on, let's go! Ah! I'm yelling, please, we're playing. And literally a month later, I'm standing out on the rocks in Malibu with a sock on. Here I am on the rocks with the sock on my dick. I'm in the band now.
The newly formed foursome went into the studio to record the band's 4th album. Released in September 1989, Mother's Milk became the Chili Peppers' first album to go gold.
remember the first time I heard them like on a modern and big rock radio station, my jaw was on the floor. In the mid-'80s, man, it was inconceivable.
Mother's Milk was a great time. We were touring like crazy. We were absolutely rocking, feeling really good.
For the first time, this cult band was enjoying commercial success. Hits like Knock Me Down kept Mother's Milk on the American charts for over 8 months.
I think that song kind of, for me, totally embodied the spirit of the album. It was very triumphant.
And, you know, Chili Peppers were doing their thing for years, and then I think everyone else kind of caught up to what we were doing.
Fans around the world went wild and stopped at nothing to get a piece of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I was backstage one time. It was way after the show, and these two girls were meandering around the backstage, and they come in the room, and they're like, no, they're gone. They left a while ago. Was there any of their stuff around? Oh, well, actually, in fact, there's Flea's underwear. I used to just play nothing but a pair of, like, tight white underwear. And I swear to you, these girls dove for it. It was like, you know, going after the bouquet, you know, like, they dove for it, and they're, like, playing tug of war, and one of them finally rips it out of the other one's hands, takes it, squeezes it, drinks this man's sweat off of his underwear, and says, now I have a part of him inside of me. I mean, to this day, you know, I just...
For the next album, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, the Chili Peppers teamed up with the producer Rick Rubin, best known for his work with the Beastie Boys.
They didn't really fit into the category of any of the type of music I'd dealt with before. And I thought it'd really be a fun record to make, and it was.
Where did I go? See that? That should be the vibe, like what you just...
Yeah. It is so hard because there's so little time.
Rubin worked closely with the band, encouraging them to explore new territory and expand their sound. That collaboration gave life to some of their most influential music. During the sessions, Rick came across a poem Anthony had written. Put to music, it would become a Chili Peppers classic.
I'd gone to Anthony's house to discuss lyrics with him, and he was showing me his notebooks of different lyrics he had written, and I found Under the Bridge and asked, you know, what's this?
I was thinking about my past because I hadn't done drugs for a few years, and was kind of reflecting on all the damage I had done and all the people that I had tortured emotionally. And so I wrote this poem.
I could just tell that he was opening his heart, and they were beautiful words. And it wasn't a song yet. All it was words on a page. You could just tell from looking at the words. They were special.
I think he was touched by it, and he said, why don't you go in and sing it to him? And I thought, okay, you know, it's very personal and kind of revealing and, you know, a little bit embarrassing, but I'll go in and I'll sing it to him. And I read it to him and I sang it to him, and I probably sang it out of tune and, you know, using 3 different keys at the same time. But they heard what I was trying to express, and instead of laughing, they both went to their instruments and just started playing.
It's hard to believe there's nobody out there. It's hard to believe that I'm all alone. At least I have her love to see that she loves me. Lonely as I am, together we cry.
Released in October 1991, Blood Sugar Sex Magic would eventually go on to sell a staggering 8 million copies. To support the album, the band embarked on a marathon world tour. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were now playing to packed stadiums.
Every single person, every mother in this whole place, every single boy and every single girl has to take off their shirt.
If he said to, like, take your shirt off and spin it in the air, everybody in the audience would do it.
And wave it around their head like a wild helicopter like this for the whole song. Don't stop until the song is over.
To me, that was like, wow, how does it get everyone to listen to him, you know? It's just so intense, like, to see that power over everyone.
In 1991, the Chili Peppers were red hot, but not everyone was embracing the fame.
I just didn't like the way everybody was responding to the success that we were having. I was confused myself about how to deal with it, as everybody was.
As the tour wore on, John grew increasingly disenchanted and distanced himself from the rest of the band.
John was just up there like he didn't give about anything, you know? And you can't be in a group and not care. It's gonna show. And it did. A lot of those shows were terrible.
You can only enjoy it for so much when the band isn't talking, you know? Me and Anthony basically toured together for a year without really talking at all. And things got worse and worse.
Then on the 7th of May 1992, tensions between the band and John came to a head. Just hours before a concert at one of Japan's largest arenas, John told the band he was quitting.
I remember calling our tour manager at the venue and just say, I just got in, how's everything going? And he said, well, it's not going really well. John won't go on stage. I mean, what do you mean won't go on stage? He quit. I said, what do you mean quit? He said, he quit. I said, he don't quit. Tell him to get his ass on the stage. I said, I'll be right there.
The band convinced John to play that night, but the following morning, he was gone. The Chili Peppers returned home and regrouped, but they weren't idle for long. In July 1992, the band picked guitarist Eric Marshall and hit the road to headline the Lollapalooza tour. 34 cities, 32 sellouts, and almost 1 million fans later, the Chili Peppers had established themselves as kings of rock.
It was great. We played Lollapalooza. We had a blast. You know, there's no tension. It was like, let's have fun. And we went out and had a lot of fun.
But back in Los Angeles, John Frusciante's life had taken a dark turn. After he left the band, a Dutch TV crew making a Chili Peppers documentary discovered John immersed in the murky world of heroin. John said he'd never taken the drug before leaving the band, but in a few short months, heroin had taken a hold of his life.
Now, you just said you're using heroin. I mean, what does it mean to you?
It's just a way of making sure you stay in touch with beauty instead of letting the ugliness of the world corrupt your soul.
He was pretty out of his mind, as I have been many times in my own life. So, you know, very easy for me to know that place where you just don't relate to the rest of the world and, you know, nothing really makes sense. I thought I had lost a friend forever, and I don't want him to die, you know, so I prayed for him. Please, you know, don't let John die.
With seemingly no hope of John returning, Eric Marshall was replaced by Jane's Addiction's Dave Navarro, who joined in September 1993.
No, I know I'm new, but you think you can get the door?
The new lineup headed into the studio, but by all accounts, recording was a shaky process. The band had trouble adjusting to Dave Navarro's musical style.
We just come from completely different musical backgrounds, completely different ideas about music. Dave's a great guy. You know, he's really smart. He makes a great rock star. He's a hell of a rock guitar player. But for some reason, we could just never really all four get on the same page.
It took the Chili Peppers over a year to complete One Hot Minute, but when it was finally released in August 1995, critics felt it lacked focus. And with Dave Navarro leaving the band soon afterwards, it seemed the Chili Peppers' red-hot ride might be over.
I like pleasure spiked with pain, and music is my aeroplane. It's my aeroplane. Pleasure spiked with pain.
From day one, it's been an amazing and unique chemistry that's ignited and held together the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But after recovering from the death of guitarist Hillel Slovak in 1988, the departure of his replacement, John Frusciante, had taken the spark from the Chili Peppers.
When you have that experience, that ultimate intimacy experience, as we had with John, I think you always crave it. We didn't know what to do. It just didn't feel right. You know, there was something amiss.
Missing was the magic the Chili Peppers shared, first with Hillel Slovak and later with John Frusciante. But Hillel had lost his battle with heroin, and John wasn't even putting up a fight.
I stayed in touch with him through the whole time, and you know, it was difficult to be around him in that time. I just thought he was going to die. I mean, I was sure that John was going to die.
I just deteriorated so much that I was ready to die. And all I can remember is I wanted a gun bad so I could shoot myself, you know? I'd really lost the will to live completely. My heart had broken completely.
In the autumn of 1997, friends finally persuaded John to enter rehab.
That period of my life had run its course, and I knew that, and it was time for a new chapter to begin.
For those who witnessed his decline, John's recovery was nothing short of miraculous, but it would be just the first in a series of astounding events.
I just went over to his house and asked him, you know, what would you think about being in a band again? And I just remember his face turned bright red, bright beet red, and he was like, oh, well, I think that'd be a good idea, you know.
In April 1998, after a 6-year absence, John Frusciante reunited with the rest of the Chili's, and the band embarked on a new chapter.
Now he is like the most focused, dedicated, awesome, awe-inspiring artist that I know. I mean, it's like someone who I'm absolutely challenged to play with because he's so good and he's so smart and he's so on it, and it's just amazing. It's really amazing.
We're not taking it for granted and really, you know, realizing what we've got and how special it is.
It was really the best. It was like, you know, having someone die in your family and then come back to life.
John wasn't the only one coming back to life. After years of chasing his demons, Anthony says he too has finally controlled his addictions.
I finally was able to get honest with myself and say, you know what, you're just a liar if you think you can go out and do that and not destroy your life and everything around you. Whereas before I kept thinking somehow I could get away with it, somehow I could manage it, somehow I could control it, which is basically lying to myself.
In the summer of 1999, the rejuvenated Chili Peppers released their 7th album, Californication. The record was lined with bittersweet songs inspired by the hard lessons the band had learned.
For us, it's really about always staying true to our hearts and always being open to grow, even though it's painful, because growth is always painful.
How long will I slide?
For the Chili Peppers, the pain had paid off. Helped by songs like Scar Tissue and Other Side, Californication became the group's most popular album to date, selling a stunning 13 million copies worldwide.
With the release of Californication, the Red Hot Chili Peppers re-emerged as a vital act.